Hello and welcome to Insight. I am Elizabeth Omori. Today on the program, we will look at two interesting topics. The first is the declaration of Nigeria by the U.S. President as a country of particular concern. Reports indicate that the designation was first applied in 2020 by the State Department and reiterated in October 2025, citing violent attacks by groups like Boko Haram. Nigeria as a sovereign state has, in the last 10 years till date, been recording successes, frustrating extremists and promoting harmonious living. Well, Nigerian American community recently spoke about the implication, and Prince Maduka Nkuku in California, USA, will speak to us on the outcome of the meeting. We'll also be looking at patriotism and good governance. Patriotism can shape governance by promoting civic responsibility and national solidarity, motivating people to engage in governance and back beneficial policies. For these two to work, political analysts believe citizens' engagement remains the tool. So, let's talk about moving the country forward. Once again, welcome to Insights.
Whatever the issues are,
the National Assembly is constitutionally empowered to scrutinize,
however complex or intricate.
We have involved all the academia, the members of the academia. We have involved the academies.
Be it government policies or in fact any issue of public concern.
Our job is to help you gain clarity and make sense of it all.
This is not really healthy for our democracy.
There's a lot of aggrievance in terms of who has been in power longest and who becomes the governor of the state.
It's also in the quality of food being consumed.
After all, perception is insight.
And gaining understanding is also getting insight.
On the 31st of October 2025, the United States designated Nigeria as a country of particular concern. This action was taken by President Donald Trump, alleging persecution of Christians by radical groups, a move that has been generating discussions. The Nigerian government has strongly denied the allegation, calling them a result of misrepresentation, insisting that security challenges are criminal in nature, not religiously motivated persecution. Now, Nigerian Americans have heard the debates on this issue, and President Nigerian American Public Affairs Committee USA, Prince Maduka Nkuku, will speak to us via Zoom from California. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on Insights.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Now, first, Nigeria was first designated as CPC in December 2020, also by the Donald Trump administration, but was removed from the list by the Biden administration in November 2021. Why is this coming up again? Let's have your thoughts on this as a Nigerian.
Thank you so much. So just so we are clear, the Nigerian American Public Affairs Committee, our objective is strictly for the interest of Nigerians in the United States, Nigerian Americans in the United States. However, because of the interest that we have for our homeland, this issue is one that we felt we need to join both United States and Nigeria in addressing in a way that does not attract military intervention or punitive sanctions. So we first get engaged in this matter in February of this year, when we collectively with some other organizations met with the office of Congressman Chris Smith of the African subcommittee in the House of Representatives. So we felt like we needed to get them to see another perspective from what they were claiming was the issue. So we recognize the fact that others are also being killed. And we wanted them to understand that it's not just that Christian killing, but there's general insecurity, and we felt like we needed to give them another perspective.
So let me ask you this, because you are in the United States. How do you think this decision would affect bilateral relations, AIDS, trade relations?
This This designation and the sanctions that are attached to them have never been a solution to the problems they're supposed to solve. I think that if this designation is carried forward and the sanctions are attached, I think that would be a problem for, just like you mentioned, for business relations, bilateral business relations. It will create problem for medical travel, families that want to come and visit their children and their, the travel plans will be affected. A lot will be difficult to carry on with if this is carried forward by this administration.
Okay. Now, I understand recently you had a meeting, a debate on this issue. Would you like to tell Nigerians the fallout of this meeting?
Okay, so a group of Nigerian organizations came together, and the first thing we did, we've had an interaction with the Church Day Affair in Washington. We met with the Church Day Affair to get their thoughts on where this is going and what, if anything, our government from Nigeria is doing anything. Then subsequent to that, we met and had a press conference to inform the United States government that we do not think that the reasons for which this designation was made is the only reason, and that we felt like they should give us an opportunity to add some of the views and perspectives that they may not have been aware of. So we believe that that is something that this administration in the United States needs to allow to happen. And so we think that we're making progress with bringing ourselves into the discussion, and to the extent that on Thursday this week, on the 20th, there's going to be another hearing by the House of Representatives, and our people intend to attend that hearing. And so we're beginning to see an opportunity to introduce some other perspectives, and we are calling for caution in introducing sanctions that could cripple our businesses and our other types of activities that goes on between the two countries.
Okay. Are there other recommendations from the meeting?
Yeah. We are recommending that, specifically, we are saying that, the United States, you could actually help with the security sector reform. That's one thing that we think that the United States can do that will be more helpful than, using the hammer. We also asking that they could help with addressing what we believe to be some of the other root causes of the insecurity. We are suggesting strategic investment in economic development programs, and things that will alleviate the underlying drivers of violence. We are also saying that they could deploy targeted sanctions on individuals that they know are part of the perpetrators of this violence. So we are asking for certain specifics about how they should go about this.
All right. Sir, many say this is a call for all African countries to really look inward, address challenges holistically, and then what should be the way forward? Because the likes of Sudan, Burkina Faso, Mali, many African countries have had their own share. How do we look inward as Africans to avoid such labeling?
Well, I think, even like you said, even in this country, there are things that are left that still are undone. There's a lot of killings here, as you know, shootings here. So everywhere has its own problems. But the truth of the matter is that we could do better in Nigeria and in Africa at large. We could do a whole lot more better in terms of how we are handling the what we see to be, from the terrorism to general insecurity and violence in the country. And what you're talking about is more of a Pan-African viewpoint, where we, as Africans, begin to do things for ourselves. Of course, yes, we advocate that. We think that most of us in the United States would like to do more at home, come back home. Some of us are at the age where we want to go back home. we are not taking advantage of the power of the Nigerian diaspora out here to mitigate against these type of things, to stop them before they happen. So I do believe that we could do more. The government, for example, back home could show us some signs of increased solutions to these insecurities. For example, we could, like the police could be reformed some more. We need more reforms that is visible, and that would encourage us diasporans to also support whatever efforts are being made. And then I don't think that these countries, United States, Canada, or whatever, would step in if they see significant progress in the areas of security reforms and those kinds of things.
To help build a better Nigeria where the diaspora would like to come back home to see how things are done to improve on the economy, what areas do you think are needing attention? Address these issues so that the likes of people who want to come home rather, would come home, have peace and enjoy the prosperity we have in Nigeria.
Thank you so much. That question is very important. Like you said, even I ran for election in 2015 in Abia State, and then I returned back to the United States. Look, we can do better. We all know that our police force, for example, are not where they should be. We can start with that. I think that every foreign national who is in Nigeria can tell you their experience with police. And therefore, if there's a police reform that is visible and significantly improves the status quo, I think that would be encouraging for those of us in the United States to visit home more often, bring business ideas that we have. You are well aware of the medical missions that our Nigerian doctors and organizations do from here. If those conditions at home improve, they might even begin to build hospitals and clinics and just, go beyond the medical mission option. And then also businesses that we have here, we can transfer them back home.
But Nigeria is safe.
That's relative. Nigeria is that's relative. America is safe too, but people can walk into a church and shoot up the church, shoot up the school. So if you arrive in Nigeria, we always laugh about that here. Once I arrive in Nigeria, get through the airport. By the time I get to Ajawo police station there, if I don't have a proper arrangement, my problem can start from there. So Nigeria is safe, but we can do more. Honestly, we can do more. You and I will never know the actual motivation behind this latest declaration and the intent to deploy military intervention. But basically, if we did what we're supposed to do at home and it's visible and it is perceived to be honest and realistic efforts to improve our economic situation, improve the security situation, I think that the idea of somebody coming to take our minerals will be far-fetched. Obviously, America, Russia, China, these big countries are interested in what we have to offer, both in Nigeria and Africa at large. It is in our interest to protect those things. We are a sovereign nation, and we should be able to negotiate with whoever gives us the best deal. We don't refine most of these minerals. We don't have the technology to refine them. So we ultimately have to deal with these people, but on what terms? It should be on our own terms.
Now, degrading extremists, it has never been easy. Could it be easier?
Degrading the extremists,
Extremists,
right?
yes.
Well, I mean, you have, in this country, in the United States, you have people who are extremists too. The people who don't want immigrants in this country are extremists. And the way that we are fighting that here, being immigrants ourselves, is organizing ourselves and making sure that we engage in a way, in a legally and safe way to fight back the attack on our immigrant community. So we have to, as a country, be strategic and intentional in making sure that people who want to advance their interests over that of others are contained. I think it's unfair for any one group, religious, ethnic, or whatever, to try to impose itself on the other. So from here to Russia, to China, to Africa, we should always fight against any form of extremism. In this particular case, this CPC designation and the what it potends to attract, which is sanctions, I think the Nigerian, whatever they are doing diplomatically, they should not ignore the power of the Nigerian Americans who can vote here. Because we can vote, we are able to support whatever effort they are making behind the scenes diplomatically. We can speak to our elected officials here. We can persuade them to review their options, to make sure that they hear other people's perspectives. So our country should continue what they are doing, stand their ground as a sovereign nation. Do not disappoint us with that. But and we don't want military intervention. That's clear. That's a position that we, as a community here, stand. We don't want military intervention. So we encourage diplomacy. We collect bilateral discussions to ensure that both sides concerns are accommodated. America has its concern that Christians are being killed, but we want to show that our government at home is doing all it can to protect lives, all lives, including that of Christians. So that is what we think should be happening. And like one thing that we must say is that we in the diaspora here in the United States, we have Nigerians who have been elected into various levels of government here, and we can't ignore their power. You can't. We should take advantage of it. We have a young lady running for House of Representatives now in the state of Illinois. If she wins and gets into the House, don't ignore the power that she has. NEPAC, we are now trying to revive the Congressional Nigerian Caucus in the House of Representatives as a tool that we can use to advance our interests. So our Nigerian government should not ignore this tool as a part of what they can use in negotiating our interests in this country.
Prince Maduka Nkoko, President, Nigerian American Public Affairs Committee, USA, thank you so much for enlightening us, and thank you for sharing your thoughts with us on the issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Whatever the issues are,
The National Assembly is constitutionally empowered to scrutinize,
however complex or intricate.
We have involved all the academia, the members of the academia. We have involved the academies.
be it government policies or in fact any issue of public concern.
Our job is to help you gain clarity and make sense of it all.
This is not really healthy for our democracy.
There's a lot of aggrievance in terms of who has been in power longest and who becomes the governor of the state.
It's also in the quality of food being consumed.
After all, perception is insight.
And gaining understanding is also getting insight.
Patriotism and good governance are deeply interconnected, each strengthening the other to build a stable and thriving society. A patriotic spirit inspires the pursuit of effective leadership, while sound governance provides the foundation in which true patriotism can grow. On this segment, we will look at the role of patriotism in good governance, and my guest, Japhet Chetachi Ubweri, President, Nigeria Intelligential Society, will speak to us. Thank you, Mr. Japhet, for joining us on Insights.
It's a great pleasure having me here.
Thank you so much. Now, in fostering good governance, what is the key ingredient?
Thank you very much. Now, patriotism is a classified word that has to do with love, showing devotion for your country. It has to do with your love and your devotion for your country, most importantly. And for you to be a patriotic citizen of your nation, and ours is Nigeria, you must be able to engage. It calls for practices and services. You must have what we call civic engagement, where you exercise your franchise to vote and be voted for. You should be able to do voluntary services also. And that is actually my view on patriotism.
Okay. Now, before we talk about the development of good governance, what about citizens' engagement or participation in driving good governance?
Now, as it is said, knowledge is power. Mm-hmm. And knowledge is power only when it is applied. For citizens of any nation, narrowing down to Nigeria, to be able to be termed as patriotic citizens, there must be certain qualities they display, just like what you just said, civic engagement. When it is time for election, you come out and vote and be voted for. You don't rig election, you don't carry ballot papers. Not coming to participate in election, it's a failure on the side of a citizen of this nation to be classified as a patriotic citizen. Now, every patriotic citizen tries as much as possible to add value to the progress and development of the nation. Patriotism is all about selfless services in defense of the sanctity, the posterity, and the integrity, most importantly, the image of your nation. And I begin to wonder, a country that is so blessed with natural human and material resources, a country that does not have extreme weather conditions, a country that offers opportunities for all, over 200 million to continue to strive, is a country some call a zoo. I feel so bad. Those classified set of people, Nigerians, are those that are not patriotic. If you are patriotic, your country comes first, even before your family. In the United States of America, they beat their hand in their chest and say, I'm an American. They prefer to be an American than even to be a Christian or a Muslim in America. Any country where you see the original norms that actually that the country was founded upon is being driven, the citizens express, most importantly, patriotism to their nation first, even before their family. That is exactly the way I see that patriotism should actually be practiced in Nigeria.
Okay. I'm still going to take you on citizens' engagement. You mentioned the civic responsibility of all Nigerians when it comes to voting. Now, should it be during elections that Nigerians should engage?
The national symbol, the national heritage are held in reverence. So many countries, you cannot hear their citizens casting aspersions on their nation. But in Africa, and most especially in Nigeria, it is now a culture, a tradition for young Nigerians, including the old ones, to paint the nation that has given them life, that has given opportunities in so much bad light, just because of very few individuals who are in government that are not doing very well. Nigeria remains a great nation. Nigeria remains one of the best countries in Africa. And we are supposed to be very proud of Nigeria because there is everything we need in this country is here. We don't even need to get anything from outside. So, I'm actually employing Nigerian citizens, employing them, urging them, persuading them to be more patriotic, to defend the integrity of this nation. I didn't say defend politicians or leaders. I said the nation itself, because the nation will continue to be. Politicians come and go, nation remains. So that is just the area I actually see citizen engagement in making sure that patriotism
I think that
persists.
Your statement is very correct. Politicians go, but the nation will remain. Now, how does patriotism contribute to the development of good governance?
Thank you very much. And I think this is a very important area that must be explained. Patriotism is not all about having ambition to rule.
Good.
There are qualities that prompt patriotism. For example, number one is love. The love of your nation. If you don't love your nation, you cannot be patriotic. And what is love? Love is an inner quality, not an outward possession. It is not something that you display, something that you acquire from the inside. It's a serious quality. And what is the second quality after love? Is charity. A man who is not charitable can never be patriotic, and a man who is not patriotic can never lead. Those are vital moral qualities that are very, very essential to cultivating the spirit of patriotism for leadership. Like in the local government areas, some of the local government chairmen among the 779 local government areas, let me be very explicit and very, very accurate in description. More than 90% of our local government areas have never seen the fourth schedule of Nigerian Constitution. Some don't even know the obligations and responsibility of a local government area. They just take them from wherever they are, swear them in, and they start from where they are. That is why development at the grassroots is taken for granted. And until the development at the grassroots is corrected, the development from the center cannot be functional. So patriotic citizens are the ones that man the affairs of the nation. Every nation is built and founded on principles. Our founding fathers gave us, I think, the motto of Nigeria is love, unity, and progress. Love, unity, and progress are very fundamental qualities that are above normal qualities. They are virtues. Love is all. A man who loves his country can die for his country. A man who loves his country wants to contribute to his country. A man who loves his country will like to rule those who are in the country very well. Unity is brotherhood. Without unity, the religions in Nigeria cannot even coexist. You can have 1,000 religions in Nigeria. Once there is unity, they will coexist. You don't even know the difference. I know so many countries of the world where Christians do their Masalati, they pray on Friday. On Sunday, Christians come and pray. Maybe on Saturdays, Adventists come and pray. In the same center. That's what we call unity. We have the same problems, whether you like it or not. We face the same, we are of the same nature. We have faced the same challenges. But the fact remains that our mentality towards these problems and challenges is not what is the difference. Now, how can we cultivate patriotic spirit? You must understand something before you can be able to apply. If you understand, you comply, you can be able to apply. Patriotism, apart from the dictionary word, still has a deeper meaning. In the sense that it must be a quality that is built in your heart. Your mind must be attuned, aroused by the spirit of patriotism. As we all know, your life unfolds from within, not from without. If lives unfold from within, that means qualities and character is built from within. Therefore, as a matter of urgent necessity and priority, we must cultivate that spirit from our mind. And it has to come both in the school, what we teach our children in the school. It has to do with the family relationship, what we tell our children in the house. It has to do with in religious houses. So many churches are even unpatriotic enough that they cannot even worship in the same room with the same church, maybe Pentecostal or whatever. Even it happens in other religion. So we are the spirit of patriotism. For us to be patriotic, we must cultivate it as a character in our mind and as a quality in our life.
Can patriotism exist without good governance? Is it possible? Because there's so much expectation from the government, from society, from family. Now you take an average youth growing up that is looking at success like something he should have now. He doesn't want to grow through the process to get that wealth or to get that success or to be at that place or that point of position he's aspiring to be.
Now, first of all, before you can be able to comply or apply something, you must first of all understand it. What is governance before you add the good inside? What is governance? Governance is a set process of rules, regulations, and practices by which a country, a government, or a society is governed. Mm-hmm. Now, there are principles guiding the foundation and the existence of the country. Now, those are the major foundation. Now, patriotism comes in as an ingredient to facilitate the process of actualizing whatever developmental projects you have or prospects or plans you have for your nation based on your love for your country. It is difficult to actually see a good governance when there is no love. And what is love? Love is the first quality of patriotism. A man who does not love his nation, for example, you find out in most of these budgets we see the ministry, department, and agency, I'm not criticizing them, I have to be very factual. Some of them are duplicated. Some are inflated. more than the value of the project, and they end up not being done. And money has been pumped in there. Now, what does it show? A man who lacks patriotism is a man who lacks love for his nation. And that is a man who can engage with what I have just said. Corruption. It's not that you say the road is 500,000 naira, at the end of the day, the road is not being done, and at the end of the day, 5,000 naira is collected from the public funds as funding of the project. That does not show patriotism. Now, for there to be good governance, we must first of all know what we want as a nation, as a people, as a community, as a society. Some people have misplaced priorities of what they want. You ask an average Nigerian, what do you want? So start telling you, we need roads, we need electricity, we need this, we need that. Those are just normal outward workings of what we are supposed to need. What Nigeria needs now is inner reorientation of consciousness, inner reawakening to understand your nature as a human being, as a Nigerian, your contribution as a Nigerian, and the aspiration you have for your nation. You cannot have youths that are more than 150 million and 80% of them don't have aspiration. And the aspiration they have, either to buy motor tomorrow or to build house tomorrow, those things are they're more or less like they're efficient, something that is fleeting and enduring. So we must first of all institute the highest and core moral values in the minds and the mentality of our younger ones, in the minds and the mentality of our leaders, in the minds and mentality of our followers, for us to adhere to the rules by which good governance can be possible. If not so, it is still going to be a mirage.
This is leading to my next question, because you mentioned the family in passing. Now, you know, when a child is born into a family, every value, norm, culture, identity passed on to that child. That child sees or learns from what his parents are doing and takes cue from whatever he or she sees. Now, parents, in driving patriotism, in instilling the spirit of patriotism, what role should the family units be playing? Because for everything you see in society, either good or bad, it is from what is churned out from the homes that we see in society and in the country at large.
All right, I like being very factual and effectual when it comes to issues like this. How? In the sense that there must be an inner drive, there must be an inner union. There must be something that springs from within you that must bind two of you together. Marriage is for better, for worse. There must be some level of comportment, some level of brotherly, sisterly relationship in your marriage first. And when the marriage actually progresses and children are born, the way the man and the wife behaves will shape the mentality of the children at the first instance. Maybe when they go to school and they become wiser, or they learn or through religious books and the rest of them, they may actually change. But at that initial instance, their mentality is shaped that way. Go to a house if a criminal, for example, a man who is a thief, who is a liar, who does a lot of things. 55% of what he does is almost lies and that. Check the character of his children. I'm not saying everybody must be the same way. So the family has a very key role to play when it comes to grooming children to be patriotic. It is even some families, their fathers and mothers hear their children even cast Nigeria. The problem Nigeria is facing, let me be very, very, very clear on this, is the problem of what we have said about this country. It's our mouth. We have used our mouth because this mouth is very creative and destructive. It is what we have said about this nation that has kept us where we are today. Until we're able to waken up our spirit to realize that whatever we do, we must construct our mentality, in the right proper order. Go to nations that have developed. It is difficult for you to see somebody who is urinates on the road.
Talking about leadership and followership, how do we marry this together to see the Nigeria we desire?
Who is a leader, if I may ask? A leader is one who is sent on an errand on behalf of a people. Therefore, a leader is a servant to the people. And until such mentality is infused into leadership in Nigeria, for example, you find that 80% of the local, I dwell on local government council anyway because that's the main grassroots government. You find local government chairman performing nothing. And what is the role of followers in all this thing I have said? Who are the followers? The followers are the main owners of the nation. because they constitute the highest percentage of population. And what is the mental framework of these followers to these leaders? But until the people themselves recognize their sovereignty, recognize their power as a people, that because democracy is of the people, for the people and of the people, for the people to rise up to decide how they are governed in the most peaceful manner, we can never get it right. Until the people exhibit their fundamental civic rights to electing leaders and ensuring accountability, ensuring transparency, ensuring and fighting corruption, we cannot get it right. We are the same followers who are supposed to be beneficiaries are the ones now supporting the public funds to be wasted. Maybe you go and build your own house, buy your own car, carry money for road to go and buy your own personal, do your own things. We can't get it right, sir or ma.
How do we get it right? How do we change the narrative?
Now, the major problem we have in Nigeria is that we have poor perception of our problem. What is the problem of Nigeria? Leadership is not the problem of Nigeria. Political structure is not the problem of Nigeria. Regional government is not our problem. Additional states is not the problem of Nigeria. Mismanagement is not the problem of Nigeria. Leadership is a position of trust for you to render services, visible services, in line with the budget already set. And until we start seeing leadership as avenue of services to the people, and avenue of even development and equity and social justice, especially fighting insecurity, we all get it wrong. Insecurity is not fight by government alone. No, government alone cannot fight insecurity. America and Europe, and they have intelligence reports, not only from government and police and citizen standard intelligence reports. They have direct intelligence reports, both from citizens, from those even inside. So it is a collective effort of Nigerians, not only of the security, to fight insecurity. Until we come to the round table to decide that insecurity can be fought, we can still be managing the way we are managing it. But most importantly, we need to have civilized, right-cultured mentality of sound mind. Every nation that develops, go and watch those such nations, their citizens have high classified mentality. You see them when they go to where there is queue, they line up. When you see red light on the traffic, they stop. So until we have a system that enforces people's right first, that's my own take on it, before I deviate further.
All right. Mr. Japheth Obweri, it's been an interesting conversation. I want to thank you so much for enlightening us.
The pleasure is
for
mine.
Giving us your thoughts on our focus. Thank you so much for joining us on Insight today. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Now and always.
Thank you.
Whatever the issues are,
The National Assembly is constitutionally empowered to scrutinize.
However complex or intricate,
We have involved all the academia, the members of the academia. We have involved the academies.
be it government's policies or in fact any issue of public concern,
our job is to help you gain clarity and make sense of it all.
This is not really healthy for our democracy.
There's a lot of agreements in terms of who has been in power longest and who becomes the governor of the state.
It's also in the quality of food being consumed.
After all, perception is insight.
and gaining understanding is also getting insight.
And last week, we brought you a conversation on diabetes management and prevention. We will recall that conversation now. Tell us, at what point can someone be said to be suffering from diabetes?
Okay, so diabetes, just as you said, with disorder, it is termed a metabolic disorder actually, characterized by an elevated blood sugar level. So we have different parameters for which we use to diagnose diabetes. So for someone to be said to be diabetic, we can use the fasting blood sugar. We can also use the 2 hours postprandial blood sugar, and we HbA1c. So for the fasting blood sugar of greater than 7.1. Diabetes actually is is a metabolic disorder characterized by defective metabolism of protein, carbohydrates, and lipids. And then for someone to be said to be diabetic, we have diagnostic processes that the person has to go through to be able to be confirmed as diabetic. The three possible diagnostic processes which are likely going to be the person may likely embark on are the HbA1c, the fasting blood sugar, and then the 2 hours postprandial blood sugar. So for the fasting blood sugar, the fasting blood sugar at two separate readings of 7.1 is 7.1 or above is diagnostic of diabetic, or if the person presents with symptoms of diabetes, then at just one reading, we can diagnose the person of diabetes.
Okay, so what are the symptoms?
Okay, so the symptoms of diabetes, okay,
Yes.
to certain extent, sometimes this kind of illnesses, it's a chronic illness that goes over time. So it might not really present with symptoms, or it might even also present with very vague symptoms that may not really be specific. However, as the disease progresses, the three common symptoms that are classical of diabetes are we term them the three P's: the polydipsia, which is excessive drinking, polyuria, which is excessive urinating, and polyphagia, which is excessive eating. So this diabetic patients usually come with these three symptoms. And other symptoms that patients might present with are weight loss. So as the person might be eating very well, despite the fact that this person eats so much, but then they still are losing weight. So those are the classical symptoms. Other symptoms that they might present with are recurrent boils, delayed wound healing, this presence of chronic ulcers on the feet. Sometimes you see them complain that they feel like pins in under their feet. Sometimes they might if it gets into the advanced stage where there is peripheral neuropathy, the patient might lose sensation on the feet, such that the person might be walking with slippers, and you see that the slippers will slip off their leg, and they might not even know. They will have a wound on their leg, they might not know. So those are some of the symptoms that patients with diabetes usually present with.
If it is hereditary, can it be prevented?
Okay, yes.
Can someone not have it?
very
If a father has it or a mother has it, is it possible that one of the children will not have it?
Okay, the thing about a disease being hereditary, it is still left to chance that this person might have it or this person might not have it. Although the parents, yes, they transfer genes to their offspring, but then it is still possible that this child might not have it, or a child might not really, the disease might not really get to manifest in the child before the time of manifestation might differ in individuals. For some, it might manifest very early, for some, it might manifest late. So the fact that it is hereditary doesn't really necessarily mean that you must have it.
Okay.
But then it places you at a higher risk.
Okay, so let's talk about management. If we consider the types, type 1, 2, how can it be managed?
Okay, in the management of diabetes, we have the basic steps of management. First, we have the diet and lifestyle modification. It is a progressive condition. it worsens over time if nothing is done about it. So diet and exercise is the first step. So for people who are at risk, we usually encourage them to control their diet, to control what they eat, to avoid fatty foods, to avoid too much junks, eat more of natural foods, and then eat more of fruits and vegetables. And also, as much as possible, we try to discourage sedentary lifestyle. Those are some of
Okay.
the risk factors. Try as much as possible to avoid sedentary lifestyle. Always exercise. Try and reduce your weight. If a person is obese, it is expected that you try to lose your weight. So that's the first step of management. Secondly, we have oral hypoglycemic agents which can be prescribed. The oral hypoglycemic agents most times are being used for type 2 diabetes because in type 2 diabetes, it is not as if there is no insulin, there is insulin. However, the body's receptor tends to be insensitive to this insulin. So in that case, we give oral hypoglycemic agents that will help the there are different classes of this oral hypoglycemic agent. There are some that increase the body sensitivity to insulin. There are some that increases the pancreas and the ability of the pancreas to produce insulin, and there are some that can on their own reduce the blood sugar level at the peak of it all, when everything fails, and also for people who have type 1 diabetes. For people who have type 1 diabetes, they have absolute deficiency of insulin because their pancreas cannot produce the hormone insulin. So in that case, they have to live on insulin all through their life. They have to live on insulin. However, for those with type 2 diabetes, we start with the diet modification and exercise, then we go to oral hypoglycemic agents if it is not controlled. And then in some emergency cases or in cases where there are hyperglycemic emergencies, we tend to use insulin as well for type 2 diabetes.
Yeah, okay. I'm glad you've talked about diet, but still on management for pregnant women. How can they manage diabetes with pregnancy? Let's begin with that. How can they manage it?
Okay, for pregnant women, they can also manage diabetes with oral hypoglycemic agent with the drugs. There are tablets like metformin. You can give a pregnant woman and help her control her blood sugar level. And at all stages of life, whether pregnant, whether elderly, whether um, a a normal individual, maybe a young individual, you can exercise and diet cut across all walks of life. However, for pregnant women, you can go ahead and use the oral hypoglycemic agent, and then should the blood sugar level get so elevated to an extent where it is uncontrollable, at some point, insulin is usually a something of a last resort.
Does this apply to the elderly, the aged?
One has to be cautious. One has to be cautious with the use of insulin with the elderly.
Okay.
So most times the first line of choice is still the oral hypoglycemic agent. However, if it comes as an emergency, then one has to be cautious when giving the elderly insulin. And at that instance, the person has to be monitored very closely so that the patient doesn't fall into hypoglycemia. Because one major complication of the use of insulin is a rebound hypoglycemia, where the insulin brings down the blood sugar of the patient to a very, very low level that it becomes another problem on its own. especially it usually affects the arteries of the lower limb. So starting from the feet down to the leg, and then up to the arteries at the distal parts of the body. So what happens is that because of those narrowing and because of the complication of diabetes, which is called peripheral neuropathy, in peripheral neuropathy, it affects the peripheral nerves. That's the disease condition affects the peripheral nerves such that the nerves, the cutaneous nerve, and the person tends to have issues with their cutaneous nerve. The sensation, the sensation of distal parts of their body, the get very, very low, such that even if they have injuries on their legs, they don't know about it. You can see a diabetic person can match a, a nail and he might not be aware of it. A diabetic person might have a large cut on their legs and then they will not know about it. This is because of peripheral neuropathy. It makes sensation very, very, it decreases the level of the person's sensation on the affected parts of the body. So couple the decreased level of sensation makes the person unaware that they have an injury on on that particular site of their body. And then because there's poor blood supply to that area, it also affects wound healing, because for wound to heal effectively, you need a good level of blood supply to that area. What does blood supply do? It provides nutrients to the injured site. It provides oxygen, and it also eliminates waste from that from every part of our body. So by the time that the arteries around the injured site are narrowed as a complication of diabetes, there is decreased supply of nutrients, there is decreased supply of oxygen to that affected site. And because the person doesn't even know that they have a wound, nobody will care if you have a wound. Like if I have a wound and I don't feel the pain, most times it's the pain that causes us to go out and look for help. But then if you have a wound and don't feel anything, you feel like I'm doing fine. There is no need for me to go and seek help. So the combination of poor vascularity and the peripheral neuropathy is what brings about the complication and and ultimately results in delayed wound healing. So it is like an indirect effect, a complication of the diabetes.
What would be your advice as a medical doctor? At what point should we draw the line? Oh, the sugar intake is too much, or do we need to stop it at a particular age or at a particular time? We need you to enlighten us.
Okay, at every point in life, at every point in time in life, it is expected that we try and if you really want to live healthy, it is very, very important that we try and cut down the level of our sugar intake, most especially all these junk foods. Many people usually interpret it as just the normal table sugar that we see. But diabetes, the sugar thing is not just limited to carbonated things and table sugar, the table sugar we use. It's cut across when one is controlling his diet, the dietary management of diabetes. It does not only it is not only limited to sugar. It's it's cut across junk foods, all those fatty foods, all those cakes and the rest of them. You might not be eating sugar physically, you might not be putting sugar in your tea, but your diet might be containing very high calories. Like the level of calorie in sugar compared to the level of calorie in fat is very, very different. Fat contains more calories than the normal carbohydrate diet. So diabetes is not just a disorder of carbohydrates or sugar. It cut across all the major nutrients, both protein, fats, and carbohydrates.
And that's Insight today. Thank you so much for watching. Be patriotic, shun acts capable of tarnishing our reputation. Love your neighbor and love Nigeria. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.